Hey, it's Carrie with Reseller Revenue, and today we are going to jump right into how to basically create our reselling goals by looking back. So we're going to go for the future by looking backwards a little bit. And I do this with the group, and we do it in depth, and we share with each other, and we help each other with creating our goals. I'm more of a short-term, action-focused, make it happen kind of goal person. So I'm fine with reach goals or whatever you guys want to call your dream goals. That's awesome. But for me, I'm more about let's take chunks of things that we can make actions on and watch them happen. So let's jump right into what I use to talk about that. I use different formats and I make them available in the group. And one of them is just kind of a standard sheet of like what we should be asking ourselves. And before we know what goals we should be setting, we need to know what we're capable of. So I always ask, like, what are we expecting from eBay financially as far as net profits? Do we even know how to calculate our net profits? How many items a day have to go into our store to see those profits? Because over and over and over, I'll see people say, I want to net 100 grand a year. Awesome, we can do that. But we're only putting in $60,000 of product in a year. So even if all of it's sold at full price, how is that possible? It's not. So we have to know where we are and we have to face hard truths about those things before we can set accurate goals. So how long is the average sell-through time in an item in your store currently? Do you know how long from the time you put an item in your store to when you see the profits on it? Do you know how long that's averaging per item? Do we know how long it is for your store sell-through rate? So we need to think about that. How long is our store sell-through rate? Because if we expect our items to sell in 30 days to meet our goals, but currently we have a 9-month average sell-through rate, those things won't align and it won't work. So how much time are you wanting to spend on eBay a day? If you only want to spend, a couple hours a day on eBay, which is fine, then we need to have goals that align with that time allotment or that time efficiency that you want to give it. You can get quite a bit done on eBay, in my opinion, with good processes in about 3 hours a day. So I give eBay 3 full hours a day, and that's me putting up 25 and drafting 30 a day. So a total of 30 drafts, 25 I launch. That's including, you know, photographing, listing, the whole 9 yards, and shipping. So if I ship on average of 25 a day too. So if I give it 3 solid hours, 7 days a week, it's about 21 hours a week that I put into eBay plus some sourcing. So I don't include sourcing in that. So sourcing would be additional. How many items a day are you wanting to list consistently per day? So that's important for so many reasons. We have to be able to allot the time that we're going to list. And you can kind of get it where if you timing your processes, how long that's going to take you per item. And then you can multiply it out, or you also have to be able to cash flow that. So if we go from 10 to 20 to 30 items a day, we have to be able to afford to pay for those items. And sometimes cash is a little tight with reselling. So we need to figure out how we can financially support those items. We also have to remember that if we have an average $5 cost of goods in our things, and we're going to put up, 10 items a day, then the first $50 of net profit per day automatically just goes back for our cost of goods or our inventory. So there's lots of times if, well, I'm net profiting $200 a day, I'm doing great. But if your cost of goods that day were 150, that's not so great. So we have to think about that. What is your average net profit per item? Everybody should know what their average net profit per item is. And if you don't, then we need to work on that. So leave me a comment that, hey, we need to know how to figure out net profit per item or net profit per week or whatever numbers you're looking for. I need to know what numbers you guys aren't confident on. But as resellers, we absolutely have to be confident on our numbers, or how do we know if we're actually profiting any money? We need to be not churning. We need to be earning. So what's your average cost of goods sold? I think all of us know that, but we need to make sure we're not lying to ourselves when we buy big lots. They need to be one item is one listable item. So if we lot up 10 items, that's one listable item in our cost of goods sold. And then how much do we need to be spending on our cost of goods sold per week? If you don't know what that number is, we need to figure it out because otherwise we can overspend. So a loose budget is very helpful in trying to decide what we are going to put aside and what we're willing to source with per week. So Becky, who does our Balanced Life call, her and Marsha do it together. So it's like 50-50. did a sheet last year that was about goal setting for resellers, which I also thought was really useful. And it proposed questions like, okay, this is the looking backwards part. So what things did you just love over the last year, last quarter, last month? Whatever analysis we're doing for our goal setting. So what did you just love about it? What distracted you during your days of working? So like, let's say, so we're going to look back into a quarter. So we're going to look back on first quarter and say, what got in our way? What distracted us? What was making us not be able to meet our goals or our work goals that day? What obstacles did we face? And this, on her sheet, it says last year, but you could put it into last month, last week, whatever we're looking backwards. So we're going to say last quarter. When looking at what we enjoyed, as well as the things that we didn't enjoy or that were problems, what can we now do going forward to create this next quarter as one that we're going to love? So we have the ability to look and see, okay, these were issues, these were problems, these were things that just, we stumbled over. But now we have the opportunity to make them where we're gliding through them better or we're going around obstacles or instead of, struggling quite so much. So it just helps us better our businesses by looking at that. So when we're goal setting for this next quarter, we could say, okay, everybody can spew out some goals, right? So what do you want to get done? What financial items do you want to accomplish? What maybe inventory goals do you want to accomplish? Time goals. We all have a different why, like why we're doing this. Some of us, this is our income. Some of us, our why is because we don't want to go back and get a full-time job working for somebody else. Some of us want to bring a spouse home from work. Some are just, this is our vacation fund. Any reason that you have is the right reason. So as long as you know your reason and you know why you're doing this, it's correct. But you just have to have a firm why and use that to drive you and to push you towards your goals. So also want to look back at positive things, not just negative or what we could have done different or what we didn't, what maybe we screwed up. But let's look back and say, oh, what's something great you accomplished in Q1? What's something you just knocked out of the ballpark? What do you feel good about from Q1? Because that's things that then we can add to and do more of. So if you did it once and you feel great about it, you can do it again. So how can we replicate that to make us more money? If we could do anything without being afraid in reselling, what would that be? That's usually a good like jumping off point to get our minds a little more, I don't know, get it a little more sparkle to our goals. Like what is something that like if we could just have it any way we want, what would it look like? And then the biggest thing at the end that we need to talk about is action. We could talk about goals. We all know people that have big dreams, big goals, but they never actually do anything. Yeah, those don't work for me. So we have to have it's fine to not meet our goals. Like that doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you're human. But if you don't ever put any plans of action in place and then follow through with them, then that becomes the problem. So we need to write out these goals, how we get there by looking back on what worked, what didn't work, what we want, what we don't want moving forward, and now make a plan for going forward. So in my opinion, we really need to have these finances nailed down. We also need to have our wants and our needs nailed down. And then even if you only put 2 or 3 things that you really hope to accomplish in quarter 2, make the action plan how you're gonna make it happen, not just, well, I hope this happens, because hoping doesn't really ever pan out in business. So let's get a plan together. Put in the comments on what you're looking forward to for Q4 or me too, Q4, Q2, and what maybe you're trying to avoid in second quarter that happened in the first quarter. So I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, send a message. And if you want some more help with your goal setting and other finances, because everybody in this group can give you their numbers. We're very number oriented. So go to Patreon and join Reseller Revenue. Thank you.